Hello, everyone. I'm Dijon,
And I'm Aiara.
and welcome to the Mustardcast, the podcast about the art of storytelling and how it's used across different mediums. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see our channel grow, and to click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post. As usual, free Palestine, always until it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, what media have you been interacting with lately?
So I've been kind of on a binge of replaying the Papa's games, like, Papa's Pizzeria and all that stuff. I don't know why. It's just something that happened. I found a website where, like, you can play them for free. And I kind of miss the browser game versions because I have the mobile ones, but they're just not the same. So I've been playing a whole bunch of those lately. Little Terraria, little Minecraft here and there. I've been getting back into my Switch. I haven't touched the thing for over 6 months ever since I got my PS4. So getting back into that is a whole thing. The controls feel so different now that I'm so used to PS4 controls. It's very strange. But I've been playing a lot of Mario Maker on my Switch because I forgot how much I liked it.
It's interesting that
Uh,
Nintendo uses American letters.
it really is. It
Oh,
really
while
is.
PlayStation and Japanese studios decided to use shapes because shapes are universal.
Mm-hmm. And then doubly so considering like the fact that Xbox
Uses
uses
letters, but in
the
different order,
yeah, and it's like that's
which
part of the reason
I'm
why
gonna
I've
have a
never bought an
problem
Xbox.
when I finally get a Nintendo because
Oh
I'm used to the way
yeah.
Xbox does things when it comes to the letters because they use the exact same letters but in different
Yep.
orders and it's
It's
gonna be strange.
it's chaotic. Yeah, that's part of the reason why I don't think I'd ever be able to have one because having to swap between the two, I think it would kill me, respectfully. Um, what else? What else? What else? What else? I've mostly just been watching video essays while recovering from the whole ankle thing. And that's been fun. I watched someone restore an old arcade cabinet for like Pump It Up, and that was really interesting. Like way more interesting than I thought it was going to be. And it's kind of got me like, man, arcade restoration would be cool. But then I realized how expensive that would be, and I'm like, no, that's all right. And then, oh, I'm catching back up on Chainsaw Man. That's probably my biggest thing. Catching back up
Ah,
on Chainsaw Man.
you know
I'm
what?
at,
I
I
think
think,
I'm falling behind on some of my manga. I need to catch back up.
real,
Oh
real.
God!
What?
Wait, this can't be right.
How many Chainsaw Man chapters
No,
there are now?
because I went to go check. I opened Shonen Jump app and looked at Kagurabachi, and it looks like
Hmm.
I might have fallen so far behind. I have to subscribe to read one chapter. But maybe
That's
that. But I feel like
crazy.
that can't be right. That doesn't make any
Yeah,
sense. Because I feel like it
yeah.
hasn't been that long since I read it.
I was just say, is Kagurabachi monthly, weekly? Like, how often does it come out?
Because it's. I'm trying to figure out if I read that chapter that's saying I didn't read. Because I feel like I did. Sometimes it just mistakenly says I didn't read a chapter. Because every other one I'm caught up on. Chain.
Mm.
Oh, what the hell? You
Oh,
know
Shonen
what?
Jump.
I'm.
Wow.
I don't know, man. Something's going on. I'm gonna have to. I have to subscribe anyway to finish Bleach, so I might just subscribe,
Right.
finish Bleach, since I'm subscribing for 1 month, and then catch up on the stuff that I fell behind on. Because apparently,
Makes sense.
One Punch Man released like 8 chapters in one day,
Oh wow.
so I'm way behind on One Punch Man. That's
Damn.
insane. Like legitimately,
Yeah.
On December 4th, they released chapters 193, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 200, 201, 202, 203, 204.
Good
Which is
lord.
insane because One Punch Man has been so behind, and then suddenly
Mm.
they release like One Punch Man hadn't released a chapter since 2023 in October,
Oh wow.
and then all of a sudden they release a dozen chapters at once. That's insane.
That is insane.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. Everything else is like I'm not behind on. Like I'm on the latest chapter of Kaiju Number 8. I'm on the latest chapter of Chainsaw Man, and I don't know
Mm.
how. I think once again maybe Kakurabachi's uploaded a bunch at once. I'm confused. But anyway, I'm gonna have to subscribe so I can watch, so I can read One Punch Man and Bleach anyway. So I don't know what just
Right.
happened. That's weird. I'll see. But sorry,
But yeah,
you were
I've been
talking
catching.
about Chainsaw Man.
You're good. You're good. I'm up to chapter 139. And I'm starting to like part two a lot more now. Still not the biggest Asa fan, but I like where the story's going as of right now. I also
Honestly,
started reading Health.
at some
Mm-hmm.
point she kind of gets sidelined. So it's like,
Yeah.
I feel like maybe the writer realizes that Ase isn't that interesting either.
Yeah. Which is tragic because she has so much potential, but then like she gets sidelined in her own manga because she's just not an enjoyable character to me. I've also started reading Hellsing, which is the most insane manga I think I've ever read in my entire life, and I'm loving every bit of it.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever
Like
read
it's
the
the
manga. I've watched it, but I haven't watched it in a long time. It says do a rewatch for sure.
You should. It's the fun kind of crazy where it's like things are just absurd enough that like it doesn't feel like cheap or like overblown. It's like silly. And I think Alucard is really fun, but then also in reading the manga, I can totally understand why the mangaka got a cease and desist for making him look so much like Vash because god, he looks like Vash the Stampede. There's some panels that are like bar for bar from Trigun, and it's funny as hell. But
Yeah, it's crazy because
you
they're
know,
under. Aren't they both Dark Horse?
they are both Dark Horse.
That's kind of random as hell that you're gonna steal
Yeah,
from someone else who's under the same publisher.
it's because the mangaka for um what's it called? I didn't forgot, and I just said it. Hellsing was like really like Trigun was really inspired by Naito's work, and so he kind of went a little ham about it, which is hilarious to me. But I'm enjoying Hellsing. I think after like I get into a good spot with Chainsaw Man and Hellsing, I'm gonna pick Claymore back up. Yeah, and that's it. Mostly Chainsaw Man. That's my biggest thing. I'm back into it, and I'm enjoying it a lot more.
Cool. Um, Still playing Persona 3. I made some really good progress, but now that Marvel Rivals is out and Indiana Jones comes out tomorrow on Monday, and it's getting really good reviews, so I'm probably gonna be playing that a lot. The chances of me beating Persona 3 before this year is over just dropped. But like I said,
And that's real.
I did play a lot of it across the last 2 weeks. And I fought the supposed last shadow, but of course that wasn't the end of things. Going leading into it, I was like, this isn't the end. This doesn't feel like the end. I romanced Yuko, and it was a tough decision between her and Chihiro, but her passion for coaching really got to me, and I realized something about this game made me realize something about myself. I'm attracted to passion.
Real.
But I also learned that there's a way to romance everyone without getting caught up.
There is.
So I'm gonna do that. But Yuko's in game for me. I like Yuko.
That's real. You have good taste because between Yuko and Chihiro, that's like I respect it.
I rewatched Alien Romulus with a blind wave, and it was just as good the second time. But nothing will recreate how creeped out I felt when I first saw that final creature in theaters. That thing is creepy. It was just a real person in a costume. It was crazy.
Same.
The movie's good. I also rewatched Dune Part 2 alongside Blind Wave, and that is also just as good the second time around. The first movie was good, but it was mostly groundwork and setup for this movie, basically, because now that once you get an understanding of the world from the first movie, with the second movie they could just tell an interesting story within this interesting world without a bunch of exposition like the first movie had.
Right.
And still watching Invincible Fight Girl, and continues to be real good, great animation, and it's just a really fun, easy watch. Just watch it every Sunday or Monday. It depends on what I'm feeling. It comes out on Sunday though. I'll watch it later today after I do some chores. But moving on to animation, we got a official first trailer for Invincible season 3, which it's great that they're on a nice schedule now. Hopefully it's smooth sailing here on out in terms of the reschedule for Invincible.
Right.
Because last season got split into 2 parts. They realized that was stupid. Don't do that, because the show completely lost momentum after that. Because people were they loved the first season. Second season came out, people were excited, and then I forget how long the season was. The season was like 6 episodes or like 8 episodes, and then after only 4 episodes of a I think they were 40-minute episodes, but even then after 4 episodes they just took like a 2-3 month break and then came back. And everyone was like, for a show with only 8 episodes, you can't take a mid-season break. That's not how this works. You take a mid-season break if you're a show with like 26 episodes, not a show with 8 episodes. That's not how this works. Like I said when we talked about that earlier this year, everybody would have preferred that they just took longer to release the full thing than have there be a break in between and completely ruin that momentum.
Right.
So they're not doing that anymore, and it comes out, I forget exactly when, but it comes out like January, I think. If you could look that up,
Ooh,
Invincible season 3, like it comes out real soon.
I can.
Um, so yeah, and it looks good. I can't say too much because I want to spoil it for you. But yeah, I'm excited. Once that starts
February.
February, once that starts coming back, I'll probably get back into reading the comic because I started rereading it around the time
Ooh.
season 2 came out, or just a couple months before, and I need to finish that up. I got pretty far, so I'm excited to get back into that. Of course, still watching Bleach. And the episode before last, because that episode came out yesterday, that I sat down to watch and I fell asleep. Not because it was boring, but because I was just, I don't know why. Sometimes I get upset when I get tired in the middle of the day, and I'm like, I don't want to be asleep right now. I want to be up enjoying my day, but I'm tired for some weird reason. I hate when it happens. I'm like, I don't want to have to take a nap, but if I don't, I'm just gonna be falling asleep on everything I try to watch right now.
Right.
So I got to the opening, and then a couple minutes after the opening, I was just falling asleep. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna have to cut this off right now. I'm gonna have to go to sleep because I can't watch this right now. But the episode before that, we saw Kiraku's Bankai for the first time, and like every first time Bankai we've seen in this arc so far, the animation was beautiful and the music was great. I really want them to remake the series leading up to this point in the art style of this season. It would be so good. But yeah, Bleach continues to be incredible. Still watching Ranma, one half, the remake. As an anime and manga from the 80s, there's a lot of outdated stuff in this show. But we've reached one of the worst tropes ever. There's a character, this man who's like ice skater, who just straight up stole a kiss from Ranma as a girl, very forcibly, and it was played off as a joke, and everyone was like, Ranma, you'll be fine, you're a guy. And I'm like, no, that's messed up.
That's weird.
That's weird. And a big part of the show is people pursuing both Ranma and Akane doggedly, and constantly getting beat up by them as a result. So it's easy to just brush it aside, like, that's funny because they're not in danger. They're just gonna beat them up. But this one felt especially creepy and disgusting, and I feel like it was because it felt too real in the way that he approached his sexual assault. It felt too much like something that someone would do in real life, and it was just weird, and I did not like it. I can't wait to see him get his ass beat because I do not like this character.
Real.
We got another trailer for Sonic 3, and I realized I put it in the animation section. And it's Sonic. That movie is going to be mostly animated anyway because the main characters are animated, so it deserves to be in the animation section. But I only have two things I want to discuss really. One, they gave Shadow a gun, and two, Eggman will finally be wearing a game accurate costume. It only took them 3 movies. He slowly but surely became Eggman. First movie, he didn't look like Eggman at all. Second movie, he's bald, and now in this one, he's going to be fat and he's going to be wearing the costume.
Yes.
So yeah, that's cool. And yeah, they gave that man a gun, so maybe they will shoot that girl. Maybe that girl gonna get clapped.
Maria is in it. I think she's gonna get clapped.
That she might get shot. Of course, they're not gonna show it explicitly. It's not an R-rated movie or anything, but we're probably gonna hear that. We're gonna hear that gunshot, and we're just gonna see Shadow's horrified face. So I finished my rewatch of both seasons 1 and 2 of Arcane. And man, this show's so good. You've got to watch this show. You've got to. So I've mentioned before that the finale didn't feel rushed to me like it did for a lot of people. Mostly because I know, this isn't the end of a lot of these character stories. But it was revealed that the finale was supposed to be an hour and a half long.
Oh, wow.
And I'm going to need the 4K Blu-ray to have that extended cut of that finale. I'm going to need it. Honestly. Release that shit in theaters. I'd go see it twice.
Real.
So I need that. But also the co-creator of Arcane, Christian Link, confirmed that a new League of Legends show has been in development for over a year now, and it will explore 3 regions: Demacia, Ionia, and Noxus, which Mel Medarda is from. So it sounds like this may come a little bit sooner than the wait for Arcane season 2, hopefully. So, I'm excited for that. More stories in this universe, hopefully by the same writers and showrunners, so that it's just as good. So, a lot of people have been gassing up this show called Pantheon. That's from AMC Plus that was recently added to Netflix. And if I'm being honest, they really oversold it because
That,
it came out within a week of Arcane ending. People kept comparing the two, and I know how to temper my expectations. I
right.
absolutely did not go into this expecting it to be anywhere near as good as Arcane. But in my mind, I'm like, okay, if people are even daring to compare it to Arcane, it at least has to be good. Um, so I've only watched the first episode so far. It hasn't captured me yet. So far, I'm not gonna pretend like I'm not going in a little bit like, why y'all comparing this to Arcane? I'm not gonna pretend like that's not the
Right.
case because why y'all comparing this to Arcane?
It's Arcane,
It's
yeah.
like not a fair comparison. Arcane
Mhm.
is a revolutionary masterpiece that had a higher budget than most animated movies. Like, it was a labor of love financed by a game studio. The studio who owns the IP financed this themselves, and it cost a
Right.
lot of money. So, like, no offense to Pantheon, but it's just not on the same level. Like, it's just not. Like, this is comparing apples to oranges. Like, I personally love to compare stuff, and I'm not a fan of comparison being called the thief of joy. But it's all about how you do it, and doing it
Mhm.
in this way is the thief of joy. Like, don't compare stuff that doesn't need to be compared. Um, Gentry
Sure.
Chau versus the Underworld released Thursday, and I checked out episode one, and it's fun so far. It's got really good animation, good art direction, and some really good fight scenes. I sent you a trailer for this a while back. The story revolves
You
around
did.
Gentry Chau returning to her hometown in Texas on her 16th birthday after being sent to a boarding school in Korea because she almost burned down the town after she discovered she had powers. Since then, she's restrained them, but now she'll need to use them to stop the demons who are coming after her to steal her power for themselves. And yeah, it's real fun so far. We only watched the first episode though.
Mm.
So Beastars season 3 is out, and in anticipation, I rewatched season 2. I did the same thing
Right.
with season 2, where I rewatched season 1 beforehand, and this is the final season, and
Mm.
it's making me want to reread the entire manga from the beginning because I picked up the manga from where the first season left off. So I've
Mhm.
not read the content from the first season of the manga.
Right.
Season 3 it's really good so far. I'm on episode 8 out of 12.
Mm. Ooh.
But that's only half of the final season. Thank God, because as you recall, I was afraid after I heard that they were cramming the final arc into one season.
Mhm.
But a while back, we discovered that they were splitting it into two parts. Um,
Mm.
and yeah, as happy as I am to hear that, I'm tired of this splitting the final season into part shit like they did with Attack on Titan. Just
Yeah.
make it separate seasons. Just call this season 3 and then call the next like 12 episodes or 8 episodes, however long it's going to be, the final season instead of calling it the final season part 1. Like that's weird.
That
Um
is very weird.
but yeah, the OP for the season is much better than the second season's. Second season OP wasn't bad. Like it was a good song that I think like, did
Serviceable.
well. But like
Mhm.
in comparison to the first season, it just didn't fit the vibe. The first season had this super like Japanese jazz feel that was really cool. It's kind of like
Mhm.
the ending for the first season of Jujutsu Kaisen that went viral. That song was so good.
Oh yeah.
I still listen to that
It
song
was.
all the
It
time.
was. Real.
That's how like the feeling of the first B Star opening was, and it also actually now I think about it, I think it was literally the exact same band. Um, and yeah, and it also had like stop motion animation in the animation for the opening,
Mhm.
and they didn't do that for the second season. Second season they used the same type
Oh,
of
boo.
animation that they do in the regular show, and they use like a generic Japanese pop song. Um,
Mhm.
but the second season, they brought it back. They learned their lesson, thank God. And it's stop motion animation and a jazzy song, and yeah, it's real good. But yeah,
Nice,
the
nice,
season's
nice.
real good so far. Beastars is just great. Watch Beastars. I know a lot of people. I talked about it like a while back before you joined the podcast about how a lot of people don't watch this show because they just think it's Fury fetish stuff. But no, it's just a really good
Mhm.
show. There's
Yeah.
definitely an aspect of that to it. I'm not even gonna hold you, but like literally an aspect of the show is like one of the characters. Like, look, it's some furry shit. I'm not going to pretend like it's
Yeah,
not.
like I
But
mean
it is
that's
some good
inherent.
storytelling. It's just a good story. Um, it's also strange to think that this is a shonen because it's a very atypical shonen.
Mm.
I feel like that's happening a lot lately, where genres
Mhm.
are starting to branch off. Like Dan, which I forgot to write it down, but yeah, still watch Dan. um, is like it's kind of like a rom com in the same sense as Ranma, where it
Right.
um, I think Ranma is like considered a shojo versus like Inuyasha, which is by the same creator, is considered a shonen. But
Yeah.
they have the
I think
exact
so.
same vibe despite that fact. Um,
Mhm.
there's a big emphasis on romance alongside all the action. Um, and Dandadan, which is mostly considered shonen, has a lot of romance, very similar to Ranma, in combination with action. And I feel like Beastars is the same way, except that Beastars is much more slice of life, if I'm being honest. And I like that. I like
Mm.
that a lot about Beastars, and I want more stuff like this, where there's a decent amount of action, but like if I'm being honest, like action is like 10% of the show. Like
Mm.
the other 90% of the show is slice of life. This man, like Goshi, just living his life and like being a high schooler, and it's very cool. It's a very good show.
Sounds cool.
And it's animated by Studio Orange. The best to do it when it comes to
Yep.
3D animation and anime.
The goat. The goat.
And they'll finally be finished with this, so they could finish Land of the Lustrous and do second season of Trigun.
Funny. I don't think we're ever getting a second season of Land of Lustrous. I'm gonna be honest. As a Lustrous fan, despite the manga being, and you know what? I'm okay with that. Read the manga. Read the manga. It's so good. I love Ichikawa's storytelling. It's great. And speaking of Trigun, we're probably gonna get news on season 2, if not this month, then next month. The directors had said something about it on Twitter, so keep your eyes peeled.
Cool. So last but not least in animation, we got Creature Commandos, the first official project for the new DC or DC universe in general. And the first episode left me a little concerned about. It had me feeling like this show was going to be kind of mediocre, and I was like, oh, that's unfortunate. But I realized that they released 2 episodes at once. Watched the second episode, and the second episode completely assuaged that feeling. They clearly released 2 episodes at once because they knew the first episode wasn't strong enough on its own to hook people. The first episode was mostly set up for the plot. And they confirm that James Gunn's The Suicide Squad and Peacemaker are canon to this universe by directly referencing that Rick Flag in this show, who's voiced by Frank Grillo, is the father of the Rick Flag from Suicide Squad. This is Rick Flag Sr. That didn't make sense to me at first because I thought Frank Grillo was way too close in age to Joel Kinnaman, who played Rick Flag in the movies. But it turns out Frank Grillo is 59 years old. He's way older than I thought he was. I thought he was in like his 40s.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, he's 14 years older than Joel Kinnaman. And in the series, he's 14. He had his son when he was 18. So I was like, okay, that makes sense.
That makes sense.
He's old enough to play his father. Because at first I was like, I feel like they're way too close in age. But no, he's 59. I thought he was way younger. Well, not way younger, but I thought he was at least 10 years younger than that. I wasn't feeling the art style at first, but once we started getting some action scenes, it started to grow on me. The show definitely has the same feeling as the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker. I mean, the setup is literally the exact same as the Suicide Squad. The setup is that because of the events of Peacemaker, the Suicide Squad has been outlawed, but that's only with humans. So instead, she's using non-human prisoners to form essentially the exact same thing. So she's essentially, Amanda Waller is just circumventing the law as she does to create another team of prisoners to force to work for the government again. And this time they're just monsters. The Creature Commandos, as they're called. And yeah, it definitely has James Gunn's brand of writing and comedy. And a lot of people are afraid that tone will be the tone of the entire universe going forward. But he's made it clear on several occasions that he's gonna let the directors. He's one man. He can't direct and write every single project. He is directing Superman, and he's directing this, so he's directing the first 2 projects, and I'm sure he'll direct and write many more. But he's not going to be the only person writing and directing these projects, and he's going to let other people, put their own stamp on those projects. He's not going to force his tone and feel on everything. So not everything is going to feel like Guardians of the Galaxy.
Makes sense.
And the main villain, as far as we can tell, is Cersei, which I've talked about Cersei to death. She's second most iconic Wonder Woman villain, but only people who read comics would know that. Outside of that, she's not really known. So I'm glad that people are finally getting introduced to Cersei. and she's being played by Anya Chalacha, who played Yennefer in the Witcher live action. So they definitely didn't hire her. Like I mentioned it before when we talked about like the trailers, but like all the people who are voicing these characters will also be playing them in live action whenever they show up in live action.
Makes sense.
So they didn't get Anya to not play this character in live action. So even if the character does die, she's the goddess of magic. She's gonna pull some magical bullshit to come back to life.
Right.
So like yeah, she'll be back if she dies in this, but she probably won't even die in this. I'm being honest. There was a really cool fight scene between her and a character called the Bride, which is essentially like a Bride of Frankenstein type character.
Ooh,
that's really fun. Interesting part of the story, I guess slight spoiler alert, is like they go through her creation, the Bride, and how a character being played by David Harbour, the sheriff from Stranger Things, he's playing Frankenstein, and essentially in like the mid 1800s, he asked his creator. I assume the creator's name is Victor Frankenstein. I didn't check the credits if that was the creator's name because this is the DC universe. Maybe they changed his name.
Right.
He asked him like, "Make me a bride. I deserve love." So he did, but then in a very weird way that I hope that they tackle later. Again, spoiler alert for the show. The second episode. You should watch it also. If you want to, it's pretty good so far.
I might.
He essentially, the doctor Frankenstein, ends up teaching her how to be a person, and then ends up sleeping with her in a really weird kind of grooming type way, because she's obviously is a corpse brought to life, but is still kind of human. So she is like regaining that humanity and starting to learn how to be a person. So he's essentially, it feels like a father-daughter relationship at first, and then it goes to a romantic relationship, and then as you can imagine, Frankenstein's monster catches them. His name is, I think, Eric. Eric catches them and then kills Victor. And then him and the bride are now butting heads because, he just killed her lover and creator.
Right.
And they've been, then it gets real. Again, I'm hoping James Gunn really does a good job of properly dissecting these heavy topics of where, like I said, there was a level of grooming there. And then also, Frankenstein feels as if he has an ownership over her because she was created for him. And part of the story is him constantly hunting her down and trying to force her to marry him. And it is definitely played to be purposely creepy. I believe so, and I hope so. Because it definitely feels that way. It feels like he's supposed to be purposely meant to be creepy. Whether or not they make it clear that Victor Frankenstein was also creepy or not is up in the air. I'm not sure about if they'll really analyze that part. But with Frankenstein or Eric, I keep wanting to call him Frankenstein, even though it's Frankenstein's monster. You know what I mean. With Eric specifically, I think he is purposely meant to be creepy. I was about to say I don't imagine he'll die, but even if he does die, he's Frankenstein, so he'll probably come back to life. And you don't get David Harbour to play a character and then he doesn't show up in live action. So
right.
I imagine all of these characters will probably show up in live action at some point. Maybe except one. There's one that I could see dying, but most of them probably will. But yeah, it's good so far. I like it. Like I said, I was concerned at first, but after that second episode, I was like, all right, you know what? You got me. It's good. Hopefully it stays this good.
Yeah.
Moving on to comics. I finally sat down to read some more of George Perez's Wonder Woman. And in this issue, the Olympians recruit the Amazons to help destroy Olympus, as it's fallen to ruin after an attack by Darkseid, and they need to rebuild. But Hermes is against abandoning their home. In Superman number 19, we begin the first Superman arc in the new the DC All In era, where they're doing this kind of like, not a reboot, but this soft reboot where they're kind of just moving the universe in a different direction.
Makes sense.
Justice League Unlimited has finally come out, but I'm a month behind because I'm subscribed on the app and everything's a month behind, so I gotta wait for that. But I think this is the first issue, first comic from that era that I've read, and Lois Lane has somehow gotten Kryptonian powers. And now has to juggle being the editor-in-chief of the Daily Planet and Superwoman. Meanwhile, Superman's most deadly enemy, literally, since he infamously killed him, Doomsday, has come to Superman for help. So we'll see how she got those powers and how long they last, because they never last long. Because was in the
Yeah.
Flash comic, Flash's wife had powers for a brief period of time because she was pregnant with a kid who also has powers. But then once the kid was born, she
Right.
lost the powers. Um,
Mm.
Speaking of Flash number 14, the West family go on a field trip to the center of the earth, because that's what superheroes do.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
Wally feels guilty about going on vacation while the rest of the Justice League work to mend the damage caused by Amanda Waller during the Absolute Power event. So he somehow discovers how to be in two places at once, and is caught in the act by his daughter. Um,
ooh.
so I read, after watching the Cloak and Dagger trailers for Marvel Rivals, I started digging into their Wikipedia and discovered that they had a 4-issue miniseries in the 80s. So I decided to check out
Ooh.
where their story began. And I've read the first 2 issues so far, and I'm loving it. Essentially, Cloak and Dagger, was it Tondi and Trayvon, were kids
Mm.
who ran away from home and ended up getting hooked on drugs. But somebody kidnapped them and drugged them with some experimental drug that gave them both powers that directly connect to each
Huh.
other. Uh,
Interesting.
Dagger is a white woman and she has light powers, and then
Mhm.
I don't know if you could have guessed, but Trayvon's black, and he has dark powers.
Oh,
And he
wow.
essentially is like a black hole, and he could like suck people
Mhm.
in. But he has a constant hunger for either the good feelings that people have in their soul or light. Um, and it's meant to,
Hmm.
of course, be an allegory to drug addiction. Um,
Right, of course.
and she has an excess of energy, so she helps him feed his hunger by giving
Oh,
her
that's sweet,
some of
actually.
his energy. And I know eventually they become a couple, but in the comic they aren't a couple yet.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's fun so far. I like it a lot. Something about 80s comics makes me nostalgic for a time I never experienced. The art
Mm.
styles and the flat colors are just beautiful, and they need to make a comeback. I read a lot of 80s comics. I'm reading Wonder Woman from George Perez. I started reading the New Teen Titans, the comic that introduced all the most famous members of the Teen Titans, and I'm still
Mhm.
reading the Flash. So like I just like that era of comics. A lot of my favorite Batman comics come from that era. Um,
Really?
so yeah, this is fun. Ultimate Black Panther number 10. T'Challa has begun having vibranium-induced nightmares of him killing Moon Knight,
Oh, wow.
but at the cost of his humanity. Meanwhile, Storm and Killmonger are making their way back to Wakanda with this universe's Sorcerer Supreme called Anon the God Killer.
That's
Um,
sick.
yeah, Ultimate Universe is great so far. Ultimate Spider-Man number 11. Peter has a run-in with Mr. Negative and returns home injured, prompting Mary Jane to begin worrying about his new superhero life. Because in this universe, he was married to MJ with 2 children and in his 30s before he became Spider-Man. Um,
Oh, wow.
and in the Ultimates number 7, after they were defeated by Bruce Banner and his gamma-radiated heavenly soldiers, the Ultimates lay low and just reflect on the events. And yeah, these comics are so good so far. The Ultimates is my favorite. I always read them in
Nice,
the
nice,
order of
nice.
what I'm most excited for. So I read Black Panther, then I read Spider-Man, then I read the Ultimates, and they're all so good. And it worked
Uh,
perfectly because timeline wise, the Ultimates number 7 took place the day after Ultimate Spider-Man number 11. So I was like, oh, that's
Oh,
perfect
wow.
because and if was it like I said before, Aunt May died instead of Uncle Ben. So they were
Mhm.
going to the memorial of her death because there was a big terrorist attack that happened that's being blamed on Tony Stark, even though it wasn't him. Um,
Right.
and the anniversary of it was the day after what happened in Ultimate Spider-Man, because Uncle Ben and Peter went to go visit the memorial the day before because they didn't want to come the day after, because the day after there was going to be a big event there. And
Right.
then said event was in the Ultimates. Um, and
Oh,
Ant-Man
wow.
and the Wasp went to the event, and I was like, oh, that's cool. That was just pure coincidence. I could have easily
That is
read
very
the
cool.
Ultimates first and not gotten this experience, but it was interesting that it happened that way. For TV and film, I've got nothing. So moving on to video
Same.
games. I sent you a trailer for Ananta, formerly
Did.
known as codename Project Mugen. Ananta is an upcoming free-to-play open-world RPG from Naked Rain and NetEase Games, same developers as Marvel Rivals.
Wow.
Take on the role of an elite agent with the ACD, Anti-Chaos Directorate, and embark on an exhilarating adventure through a world that breaks all the rules. Nova City has been plunged into chaos, and it's up to you to overcome paranormal phenomena and looming threats to humanity while trying to find out who you really are. Yeah, this is one of those games to me that looks too good to be true. But now that he's working on it, gives me a little bit of hope because goddamn it, Marvel Rivals is good, but we'll get to that. It's a gotcha game, so take it with a grain of salt. There's gonna be microtransactions out the wazoo. It's gonna be free to play, but the fun stuff's probably gonna be gated behind a paywall or something. The traversal is very Spider-Man. You're swinging around on like cords from buildings, and the combat is very hack and slash. So they're definitely making this game for me specifically. But we'll have to wait and see if it's actually any good. But it looks cool. The trailers look cool at the very least.
For sure.
So we got a teaser trailer for Mai in Street Fighter 6. Did I send you that? I think I forgot to send you that.
I think you did, and if you didn't, I saw
did.
it.
Okay, yeah, I sent it. Okay. So yeah, we got a teaser trailer, and then as part of the course with these teasers, we see her story mode cutscene, with a reveal of her design and some teases of her moveset, and she looks beautiful as to be expected from the. I'm gonna cut that out, but we all know it to be true.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it is what she's known for. Yeah. We've talked about it before. Her neutral pose in like some of the older King of Fighters game is insane. Absolutely insane. They really went like we're talking about pixel art games. They went out of their way to animate them swinging. Like, get your lives together, okay? It was completely unnecessary for you to do that.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, but chill, okay? Now here's the thing.
Better than the man.
Street Fighter 6 is. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying I respect it. I'm no better than the man. Yeah. I'm looking.
Street Fighter 6 is known for its realistic muscle physics, so a lot of people are curious if they'll apply that to her in very specific ways, or try to keep it PG. And based on this trailer, it seems like they might be trying to keep it PG because there was no jiggles. So I'm like,
okay,
they're there, they're noticeable.
Right?
It'd be weird. It'd be weird to just take them away like they never existed, but they aren't like adding like realistic physics to them, which would be hilarious.
Yeah.
Honestly, if we're being real, if they were adding realistic physics to them that were as realistic as the rest of the game's physics are, they'd just be straight up popping out of her shirt because she's not wearing anything to hold them in place.
Right.
And they're gigantic. They would legitimately just pop out of her shirt if they were being realistic about it. So it makes sense that they aren't going to try and apply the like realistic physics that they have in the game to it. Like there's probably going to be a little bit of jiggle, but like they're not going to go overboard. Like this is a what's those games called? She was in one of them, Dead or Alive. She's in like two. She's in Dead or Alive 5 and 6. So like I'm sure in those games, if you want that from her, go and play Dead or Alive.
And I'm sure, like, I can almost guarantee there will be a mod at some point.
Oh, absolutely. For sure.
Yeah, like.
So just play it on PC if you want that.
Right.
But I need to get back into Street Fighter 6 one of these days. Speaking of the few online multiplayer games I care to play, Marvel Rivals has launched, and
yes.
In the build up, we got a lot of trailers. And I sent them all to you, or most of them. I stopped sending them to you at some point because I was like, the game's coming out. There's no point in sending you these trailers. We'll just talk about the game.
Right.
But first we got the launch trailer, which felt like an anime intro, and introduces the final 5 characters in the 33 character roster that it released with.
Which is cute.
Yeah, we saw Iron Fist, Black Widow, Squirrel Girl, Cloak and Dagger, and Wolverine. Look, lately I've been getting a little too horny on this podcast. I'm not gonna lie. And today will be no different. Because a lot of these characters, they look good. All right.
Very good.
So I'm going to talk about 2 in particular. You know what? I'm talking about 3 in particular. Black Widow. I mean, Black Widow, you expect it. She looks great. She plays by Scarlett Johansson in movies. Of course, they're going to make characters look beautiful. I don't need to talk about that.
Right.
You know her.
Yeah.
Cloak and Dagger. So, Dagger, he's handsome, sure. But Cloak, unnecessary.
Yeah.
They didn't need to make this white girl so thick.
They really didn't.
They really did.
It's insane.
And I play that character a lot. I get distracted. Squirrel Girl, I'm not even going to... Look, I was about to say, I'm not even going to be horny about this one. I am. But what I want to say more than the fact that she looked good is that shout out to them for actually putting a plus-size character in the game. Even if she's
No,
not
for
as
real.
plus size as I think she probably should have been. Honestly, I don't know. I have opinions about what the media perceives to be plus size. Like, as a person who lives in
Yeah,
the real world and sees plus size women, she's not plus size. But
definitely not.
in the grand
But
scheme of like the wider world and what people consider to be plus size, technically, I guess a lot of people would probably consider her to be so, even though she's not really that
yeah,
big in this game specifically. In the comics, she tends to be drawn a little bit bigger, depending on the artist. So it's like
right.
y'all could have went a little bit further with it.
Just a smidge. Just a
But you know,
smidge.
shout out to the representation.
For sure.
Uh, okay, horniness aside, the game's good. The game's fun.
Game's great.
Yeah, the day after we got the reveal trailer, they essentially posted a trailer for every character every day afterward with some Twitch live streams of some like famous Overwatch players playing the characters and test them out before the game came out. And yeah, like I said, I've played a lot of Cloak and Dagger, and I also played a lot of Black Widow over the last few days.
Mm,
So whenever I have to pick like a strategist, which is their version of support, I always play Cloak and Dagger.
real.
So with Cloak and Dagger, you can switch between Tandy, aka Dagger, who is primarily a healer, and Ty, who is a mostly damage dealer, and he also can blind people with darkness. And he also has a move
Ooh, fun.
where he can like envelop all like the your teammates in darkness and make them impervious to damage for a couple seconds, which is also cool. It's perfect
Ooh, that's
for
sick.
when someone does an ultimate and you just envelop your team in darkness, and then they don't get killed by it.
Right.
So every time I play Cloak and Dagger, I put in work. I end up MVP. And like last night, we were playing and I was playing Magic, who's my main, and then I was like, okay, this is not time for Magic. We need a healer, and I switched to Cloak and Dagger, and we won immediately. And
Mhm.
and I was
That'll
MVP,
do
and
it.
I was like, that's what I'm talking about. I'm good at this. Yeah, yeah. I don't know if you're into this kind of game. I know that I
Um,
wasn't at first, but you know, it's free to play. So if
right.
you're interested in it a little bit, I advise checking it out.
Now, see, that's the funny thing, right? I was not. I'm not really a fan of. I'm not good at FPS games. Play them that often. I watched my friend play some of it over Discord yesterday, and it's in my Steam library now. Or if it's not already, it will be soon, and I will be, because like the whole thing about Overwatch really that turned me off of it was like there's too many sweats, and I'm only this big, and you can't see it, but I'm making like an inch motion. I'm only this big, um, so no bully, but
Yeah.
it looks very beginner friendly.
Especially since it just came out, so you can hop in at the ground floor and get good,
Right,
like while everybody else is getting good. And there's going to be a lot of people
yeah,
who don't know how to playing it for the first time as well.
because like a lot of Overwatch players are established. Like there are people who know how to play the game, real good. And it's like coming in now as a beginner, it's like, oh, it's not fun. So like coming in from the ground up, like it seems very beginner friendly. I like the cast. I'm no better than a man. There's so many women.
Yeah,
Good lord, there's so many women.
yeah,
And it appeals to me. And like I said, watching the gameplay, like watching someone else play it first, really like cemented it in. Like I would have fun playing this, and then also we can play it together because it's free.
yeah.
So they got me. They got me.
Last night I was watching Maximilian Dude, famous fighting game YouTuber.
Yep, yep,
One
yep.
of his favorite fighting games that he talks about all the time is Marvel vs. Capcom. So he checked this out just to see it because he likes Marvel characters, and he doesn't like Overwatch or those types of games. So the whole video, he's just watching these incredible like animated like cutscenes and looking at the character designs, and the whole time he's just going, "Nope, I'm not gonna play it. I'm not gonna play it. I'm not gonna play it. You're not gonna get me. You're not gonna get me." And then he was like, at the end, he was like, "I downloaded it, but only to look at the costumes." And I'm like, bro, if you already downloaded, just try one game,
You might as
okay?
well just play it.
Just
Yeah.
give it a little taste. You never know. Just a little hit,
Insane.
just a little hit.
Just one.
But yeah,
Wouldn't
nah,
hurt.
it's fun. So like I said, Magic is still my main until they add Cyclops. Um, and I might swipe the card for one of her skins. But
That's real.
I'm holding off to see if I can earn the currency by playing, because I saw a couple ways to do that. It's a lot harder to earn the currency that you need to buy skins, because of course they want you to buy the skins because the game's free to play and they need to make money somehow.
Right. Makes sense.
So I don't blame.
Yeah.
Because I could play the game without the skin forever, but I would have to spend like $19 to get
Right.
$19.99, $20. So I'm like, I might be willing for just
That's
that
real.
character.
That's
That's the
real.
only character who I might get a skin for, and it's like, they deserve the money. Um, I bought
Right.
the battle pass for like $5, so like I got a Black Panther skin for free. And that was well
Cool.
technically it was part of the $5 purchase, but like
But yeah, I get what you mean.
yeah, for no additional cost, I got a Black Panther skin. And there's
Yeah.
some other
I
skins
will
I can
say.
unlock. Also, battle passes are forever; they don't expire. So
Ooh,
if you buy a battle
good.
pass, you can just spend forever unlocking stuff.
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's good. I will say I have my fingers crossed. If they do ever expand the roster, with more X-Men, I have my fingers crossed for Jubilee. It will not happen,
I no,
and I
she'll
know that it
absolutely
will
be
not
insane.
happen.
They put
You think so?
Squirrel Girl and Jeff the Land Shark in this game. Jubilee is
Touche.
a popular X-Men character.
Touche. And I think she would be really fun to play as. Like, I feel like like I said, I don't know much about these hero shooter type things, but like I feel like there's potential there.
Yeah, for sure.
And if Jubilee was in it, I would pay money for I would like spend money on the game for skins.
And
because
just like
they put her. Mm-hmm.
No, go ahead.
If they put her like original, like her costume from like the
90s
the
anime
80s
series?
X-Men,
Oh, 80s,
yes,
yeah.
yes, I'm purchasing it.
Oh, for
like,
sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think Jubilee will probably be in the game eventually. Probably,
hope
maybe
so.
they'll wait for like season 2 of X-Men 97 to add Jubilee or something.
Makes sense.
But like, yeah, there's a lot of like, I feel like with just Spider-Man villains and X-Men characters alone, there are like another like several dozen characters you can add in there. Like, where's Green Goblin?
Sure.
I want to see what Green Goblin.
Right.
Like, me and my friend was talking about how what if Green Goblin what if you could like destroy his glider and he has to like walk around without his glider for a little bit while that recharges and then he can get it back.
That's fun.
And of course, like Dr. Octopus would be real fun. Sandman, like just in terms of Spider-Man villains, like Mysterio, like a lot of them could be really cool. But then of course X-Men, we still don't have Cyclops, like I said. We don't have Jean Grey.
Right. Right.
We don't have Iceman. We don't. I was about to say we don't have ice character. Yes, we do. We have Luna Snow. But yeah, we don't have Iceman. We don't have a speedster yet. Where's Quicksilver? You know,
right.
Nightcrawler would be dope. Like,
listen,
Gambit,
Nightcrawler, yes,
and Rogue.
You get me.
Like
there's so much potential.
There's a lot of X-Men characters. That can add in. But last but not least, in Rivals, we got some leaks. You know, talking about characters.
Of course.
So we saw more of the Human Torch. He was leaked a while ago. We talked about him a little bit. But we got some more image leaks. Everyone look him up and see what he looks like. But now we've also seen images of the Thing and Mr. Fantastic. And for Mr. Fantastic in particular, we saw his entire ability page. So we know what his abilities are. And he's a duelist, which is essentially like DPS. But as he absorbs damage, he like basically turns into a tank.
Oh.
So like he like inflates his body into like almost like a big Dorito shape, like Johnny Bravo looking dude. And like does more damage. And his like main ability is kind of like in the game Groot, like his like main attack is like he stretches his tree limbs out to hit you, and that's basically what Mr. Fantastic does as well, which makes sense.
That sounds like fun though.
I'm curious because they're absolutely going to add Miss Marvel. I'm curious what they'll do to make her different because her powers are different from his, but when it comes to how they would work in a game, they would be pretty similar. So I'm curious to see what they'll do with Miss Marvel specifically to make her different. And I swear to God, if by making her different they decide to give her the powers from the show, I'm going to kill someone. So like, I'm curious to see how they do Miss Marvel. But yeah, we got a leak of that. We also know that Invisible Woman's going to be in the game. And part of this leak was that she'll be a support, which makes sense. She makes force fields. She turns visible. But she'll also be able to heal. So that makes sense that she'll be support. If I had to guess, they're probably going to release around the same time the movie does, because that's coming out next year. And they're probably also going to come with skins from that movie. Which there's a lot of MCU skins in this. Like all of the Guardians of the Galaxy characters have Guardians of the Galaxy 3 skins.
But they look really good.
They do.
Honestly, they look great.
There was also a leaked image of Blade, who is one of my most anticipated characters, and he was in a leak a while ago, but there was no image of him. But we now know what he looks like if you want to look that up. He looks cool. He has like, instead of having like a fade like he usually does, they gave him braids, which is fun.
That is fun.
And his sword, rather than being like a katana or like a Japanese style sword, he has more like a European sword, which is interesting for Blade because he usually has like Japanese swords, so that's interesting. I'm curious if it's meant to be a specific weapon from like the Marvel universe. It could either be,
Yeah, probably. That's
what is
what
it
it's
like,
looking like.
the ebony blade, which is like a sword that's owned by another. You know, now that I think about it, it could be the ebony blade, and he could have a what is it called? Is he called? I think he's got a Black Knight skin, which would be interesting.
Ooh. Yeah.
Or it could be another blade called, I think it's called the Necro Sword, which is the weapon of the King of the Symbiotes. And he's teased in this game. There's a map that is Clintar, which is the planet that
Oh.
symbiotes like Venom come from. And
Mm.
Clintar is a jail for Null.
Oh.
He's just in the center of the planet. And there's like a story to all of the stuff that you're doing. So in that map, when you're like pushing the cart, you're pushing the cart to take it to the center of like the planet to release Null.
Hmm.
So that's interesting.
Interesting.
I'm very excited to see what they do with story content.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's real fun so far. I'm definitely gonna be playing some more of that tonight. Um, so last but certainly not least, we've got some exciting news.
Yes.
Last episode we discussed the confirmation of an Xbox handheld being in development and how PlayStation needs to do the same, and maybe they are. So
Ooh.
Bloomberg reports that a PlayStation handheld may be in development, but that it's years away. They also say there's a chance they're testing things out, but it won't go. They won't go forward with it. But I hope that isn't the case.
Yeah,
The
same.
so the PlayStation Portal was initially also a test for like a new PSP, but turned into a game streaming device, meaning that you need a PS5 to use it. Plus, it's just I'm sure you've seen it. It's just a screen with no, it's just essentially the DualSense controller with a screen in the center of it.
I have seen it. Yep.
And yeah, it's just used to like if you want to play it handheld in another room in the same building, you can do that. But otherwise,
It's like, boo, that's
it's
not fun.
so like yeah. I've said before they need to treat this new PlayStation Portable like Xbox does the Series S as a cheaper, all digital and less powerful version of the main console, but with the addition of portability and the option to dock it like the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, like if that were the case, I would buy it.
Yeah,
like
that's so
straight up.
So that's what I'm thinking. So the rumors specifically say that the device will play PS5 games. So it makes me wonder, what if PlayStation doesn't release a new console around the time that they usually would? Like it came out 2020, I believe, the PS5, and it's 2025 currently. Normally, this is around the time when they would release a new console. Instead, they did the PS5 Pro. So either next year or the year after that, you would assume they'd probably release a new console, right?
Yeah.
So, but we both know that doesn't make any sense because it feels like they've barely done anything with this generation, both PlayStation and Xbox. I feel like they haven't fully taken advantage of it and actually pushed it to its limit to warrant them making anything beyond pro consoles. Like pro consoles make sense, but making a completely new console is it just doesn't feel like the right time. It feels like we're still
it's
at
like
least
a waste of money.
Yeah, it feels like we're still another 4 years out from that versus another 1 or 2. So I think it would make more sense for them to, instead of making a completely new console, make a portable console that takes advantage of the technology that they have now, which they haven't pushed to the limit yet. So like we're close to the ceiling of graphical fidelity and console performance when it comes to PlayStation and Xbox, and it can be pushed so much further. What is capable now, like the ceiling that we're at or getting close to, we still haven't, like most games still haven't even really reached it. So it's like let's keep messing around with that instead of trying to push it further when it doesn't need to be pushed further. People have also speculated that Xbox's handheld will run Steam and Epic.
That would be really interesting. I don't think it's gonna happen, but
I think it is, allowing you to play PC and PlayStation games, because PlayStation games are on Steam. Some PlayStation games, not all of them, but I feel like if they were to do that, PlayStation would immediately make a separate app, which I'm surprised they didn't already do that. Which, like, I wouldn't be mad at them for doing that. Like, Xbox has a separate app as well. Like, Xbox games aren't on Steam. So, like, I wouldn't be mad. Like, Xbox made a handheld device, and then you could play PlayStation games on it. PlayStation would immediately make a separate app for you to play PlayStation games on that isn't available on the Xbox handheld, and is only
Absolutely.
available on PCs. Um, but yeah, Microsoft is a computer company. That's what they do. They make computers. And Xbox has, we've been talking about how they're slowly kind of potentially moving toward away from consoles and towards
Right.
just making software and
Hmm.
making a handheld that is a competitor to something like the Steam Deck and ROG Ally um, would, I feel like, make a lot of sense for Xbox having a console that plays more than just Xbox games, because let's be real, there's not a lot of like exclusive
Yeah.
Xbox games that people care to buy an Xbox handheld to play. Especially outside of America, the market leans far more towards Nintendo consoles and PlayStation.
For sure.
So like, it would make sense to maximize sales to also be able to play games from Steam and Epic Game Store on this handheld from
Yeah.
Xbox. Um, and hopefully something like that, like I said, would push PlayStation to go, we also need to hop into the market. Of course, I do not expect PlayStation to allow you to play PC games on it. And the thing is, unlike Xbox, they don't need to, because they have a big enough library of their own games to actually, like Nintendo, make people want to buy their handheld device.
Right.
And people like yourself who like, it, it'll be like half a decade before you probably even think about getting a PS5. But if they release that,
Yeah, because I just
you just got a 4 and you still got a lot of games to play.
right.
So
And it's
like,
like, for me, I can't justify the cost of the
exactly.
PS5 because I'm physically in the office all the time. I
Exactly.
wouldn't be able to play it. It'd be like a $500 paperweight in my house, you know?
So like, if they were to release a handheld, a lot of people who have probably been wanting to play a bunch of different PlayStation games for a very long time would buy that to play all of the PS4 games that they missed and all of the PS5 games that they missed because maybe they haven't upgraded yet because they can't afford to, or they don't care
Mm.
to because not enough games have come out. But a portable console might make them go, you know what? I'd like to upgrade so I can play my PS4 games in my bedroom, or play my PS4 games on a plane, or during my lunch break at work. So like,
Right.
yeah, this would be, it would be dope. Um,
Super dope.
yeah, I like the idea of handheld. I feel like this is direction just the industry is going. Handheld makes a lot of sense. Like having a
It does.
handheld device that is that there not being a separation between handheld and console like there used to be, and instead them being the exact same thing.
Which is nice. I like this direction, honestly.
And like I said, we don't need a PlayStation 6. We don't need the Xbox 720. Like
Right.
we're good where we are. We need to keep playing around with this generation. Because I really doubt most people would upgrade to a PlayStation 6. Like personally, even though I'm like in my mind, I'm like, you'd probably expect me to, but honestly, I wouldn't, because
And that's real.
I wouldn't have a reason to. Like all the games still run perfectly fine on my PlayStation 5, and I don't imagine the PlayStation 6 is going to be so much more powerful than something like a Pro that
Right.
I would feel the need to upgrade. Like things can only go so far. So like we're probably not. Hopefully, if Sony's smart, if PlayStation's smart, they will not be releasing a PlayStation 6 for a very long time, and will instead release a portable console. And then once they figure out how to make, I think that we'll probably only see a PlayStation 6 once they figure out, assuming they release this portable console and it's successful. They probably
Mm.
won't release a PlayStation 6 until they figure out how to make PlayStation 6 games work on a new model of that portable console.
Right.
And I hope that's the direction we go.
I
Honestly,
hope so too.
it'd be interesting. Well, never mind. That doesn't make sense. I think that
Hmm.
there's a chance that maybe not this generation, I was about to say, but the next generation of console could be like similar to what they're probably going to do with GTA 6, funnily enough, with the PlayStation 6. It could be we could not see another PlayStation for like a really long time after that, because things can only go so far with tech. Again, who knows where technology is going in the next few years? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe technology is about to go in a crazy place that we're not predicting because we don't know about the tech world, that will completely
But I highly
revolutionize
doubt it.
everything. But like potentially the PS6 could be a console that lasts for like 20 years. Like
Right.
depending on how powerful it is, versus Nintendo, where like Nintendo is in a place where like the next Nintendo console is for sure going to be around for a decade, but
Oh, absolutely.
it would make a lot more sense for them to eventually upgrade because they're still going to be behind. Like the rumors that we've talked about before is that the next Switch is going to be as powerful as a PS4 Pro, or a little bit more powerful than a PS4 Pro, but not as powerful as like a PS5, which is far more powerful than honestly I think any of us would have expected. But
Yeah.
you know, still not at the cutting edge of technology. So Nintendo would
Of
still
course.
have another place to upgrade to, but presumably with their next console, there's probably not going to be much further for PlayStation to go after PlayStation 6. So
Right.
it would probably be a while before they even decide to make a PlayStation 7 whenever the 6 happens. And even then, like I said, we don't even need a 6 yet. So
No.
there's not even really even a point thinking about that. So like, yeah, PlayStation, make a handheld. It is the smartest decision to make. People want handhelds. I think that's very obvious. And PlayStation, they used to be on top when it came to handhelds. They used to be neck and neck
Really?
with Nintendo. It used to be a
For sure.
competition. And
Which is
I
not
I
an easy feat.
yeah, I'd love for it to be a competition again when it comes to handhelds.
Right.
Especially since a PlayStation handheld would very likely be like maybe a slightly less powerful version of a Steam Deck, where it could play games as powerful as Cyberpunk 2077, but in your hand. Whereas
Right.
a Nintendo console is never going to be able to do that. At least not anytime soon. Maybe maybe the one after the next one, but not the next one.
For sure. For sure.
But yeah, that's all I got.
That's all I've got.
You know, I'm Dijon. You can find my heads above me, and Aiara's head above them. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel if you want to see more storytelling content, and to click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post. Peace.
See ya.